Well, okay, welcome. It's so good to meet you. Lord, I don't know what y'all's allergies are like, but here it's god awful, and I spent more than 5 seconds outside on Saturday, so I have been on the struggle bus. So it's better now than it was when I woke up, but it's like all this chest stuff, so it's making my voice scratchy. Okay, so you have a podcast, right?
I have a YouTube channel and a personal development program.
Okay, because I saw your YouTube, but I didn't see, like, podcast links, so that's why I was like, "Well, maybe that's not what you call it." Uncivilized Rebirth, which, by the way, love that name, and
Thank
I
you.
checked out some of your stuff this morning, and I'm really excited because, well, let me just be really honest, even on this show where men are supposed to be emotionally available, I run into a lot of men who are not. They're just not making some of the connections that I have already seen that you have made. And that's not to shit talk men. It just is a fact of life. So I don't know. I'm excited because people have to hear the male perspective too. Because you know what? And now I'm rambling, but yesterday I said, I want to take a poll because men have this firm belief that they're the only ones who weren't allowed to cry and weren't either. And we are not any more comfortable with crying than men are. And so I feel like the more oneness we can tap into to like how much we actually are alike. Yes, there's so many biological factors and whatever, but you know what I mean, like the heart of everything. That's how we're going to have better relationships and, change the world together. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you. It's a human experience, and it's okay to experience what's happening inside of us.
Mhm.
And we have to get to the point where we can hold space for the other human that's experiencing their emotions that are part of their experience instead of rejecting it, but accepting
Yeah.
it, holding space, and no judgment. And that's just a natural way of being. We're in a society where that's not cultivated.
Yeah, not at all. Or celebrated. Yeah, acknowledged. I saw one of your TikToks this morning talking about your spiritual awakening. And I get really excited when people talk about that because even on this show, I have a good mix, I think, half and half of people who are spiritual or people who are just super grounded in psychology. And for me, I think psychology lends itself to spirituality, but not everyone's woo woo, and that's fine. But I love to talk spirituality. So I was kind of curious because you talked a lot about, at least this was my impression. I just kind of go off how I felt about what somebody said. I felt like you were really getting at the heart of expanded consciousness, like seeing what the truth actually is, and that you had been fed a bunch of lies. And I wanted to start there, like what that looked like for you, because everyone I ask about their spiritual awakening is just a little bit different. And I just love to hear that.
That's an awesome question. So yeah, like everybody's journey is different. There's like 1,000 paths to the mountaintop. And for me, what it was seeking inward. Like I had been in religion, forced in religion for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Shame, blame, and guilted, just treated terribly under the guise of religion.
In the
And yeah, yeah, this loving God wants to burn you forever. What the freak?
I had the same type of religious upbringing, so I'm with you here.
Yeah, it's religious trauma basically terrorizing a child. And so I stepped away from all that and I started seeking on my own. And through this, I started having these awakenings, these revelations that were mystical, for the lack of better words.
Yeah.
And each time this would happen, a veil would be lifted. And there was like this massive shift in how I viewed the world because so much of the world had been taught to me in words and I was told what to believe. So it created this illusion in my mind of what the world was and what God was. But when I started seeking without guidance, I started learning without these stories and these things that were created in my mind. So I got a totally different perspective. And when I got that perspective shift, I saw the world totally differently. I was like, "Oh, wow, what a farce this has been created to be." And that's because we're in a human zoo, literally.
Mhm.
And all of these things that are set up for us to believe in and chase are part of the play to keep us occupied and keep us focused outward and not looking inward.
Right.
It's like you're in a play and you don't know it, but then you look behind the curtain, you see a script back there. And that's kind of the way I see it now. It's like now I know what is going on and what's been cultivated for us.
Yeah, and as a woman, I'm hesitating to say this to you, but as a woman, what I came home to was a lot of that document was to oppress women. Like all the stuff that I grew up believing, the conservative narrative or whatever that like I was, because it's what a woman should be. And, you know, it's my responsibility to guard a man's heart and sight from my body, you know, all the shit. And I was like, even around our periods, it was all written to control women. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? That's not going to work for me. I'm curious though, if you're willing or able to give a specific shift, what something that you used to view the world from, and then how that changed, just for the audience.
Think to respond to what you're saying, to flip that coin a little bit, yeah, and then this may not be exactly the answer or response you're looking for, but yes, it's designed to control women. It's like you're to blame for a man's behavior because you dress
Mm-hmm,
this way. Well, I mean,
mm-hmm,
freak, like we were created without clothes, you know, and we're made to be shamed because of this body the creator made for us. When in reality,
mm-hmm.
it's the way we were conditioned to believe. So then it's like, yeah, that's terrible for women. Like I can only imagine how much that sucks. And then, but for men, it sucks. And this is kind of going back to religion, and this hit me recently, how it messed them up. Because if a man, let's say, got married within the religion of Christianity, and then his wife caught him looking at other women, and then she's like, how dare you? Your eyes are
Yes,
mine. You are
yes,
contractually obligated to me, you piece of crap. You go to the church pastor, you go to counseling, and a contract is created by humans between two humans to subvert the natural order of the way we are created. And
right.
so then what happens to the man is he has to start hiding his desire to see women as beautiful.
Something that I've seen with my male friends who have this really religious teaching, and this one breaks my heart, but you know, the whole idea like if you think it, you may as well have done it. And so
Yeah.
their struggle with quote unquote impure thoughts or pornography or whatever now makes them full of shame and kind of is the center of their entire life because the shame just compounds. The more they're hiding pornography use, the more they're hiding their impure thoughts. Audience, I'm putting that in quotes. It's so sad to me because I'm like, those are fucking natural desires to like want to think about, you know, sex or whatever. Like, what? And I mean, I remember even as a girl, like, oh, that's impure. Can't think about stuff like that. And shame compounds the more we hold it in. And that's how you oftentimes, not to blame anyone's behavior on anyone other than themselves, but I feel like we're really lacking if we don't look at what shame does to propel behaviors. And I think a lot of people cheat because it starts with a thought they weren't able to share with anyone. You know what I mean?
And to go down that rabbit trail a little bit, and this is from my own understanding, when those men are treated that way, and I'll speak from a man's perspective because I can't really speak from a woman's perspective.
Right.
They have to start hiding it more and more because they're shamed. And the more they hide it, they're sexually repressed. And the more they hide it, the darker their desires get and the darker
Yeah.
down the rabbit trail.
Because
And the
that's how
older
shame works.
and the older they get, the less women find them attractive and the more they have to look down the age group for when the female to look at them and smile. So couple that with their darkness, the dark desires, and then what they're looking at now. So the older white male in religion is pretty messed up.
Hmm.
People I do not trust whatsoever. There's a few of them
Agreed.
probably.
Agreed. Oh my gosh. Thank you for saying that because sometimes people like act like I'm crazy for that, but I'm like, oh no, the more Christian a male in his 50s is, the less I trust him. Yeah, no.
Yes, because he's hiding, hiding, hiding. But that's the messed up part. He's been broken, has been
Yeah.
repressed. It's like
Yeah.
your natural way of being is evil. You better hide it.
Evil.
So,
You'll lose everything.
yeah, so they have
Yeah.
been conditioned this way. They're in a
Yeah.
zoo, they're made to dress up, act a certain way. You have to perform this way, and you're not allowed to be sexual. But
Mhm.
that's because the whole dynamic's been ruined. It's like, they say it's like the honeymoon phase is over. Well, you got contractually obligated. And society's like, the other person's supposed to do this. They're supposed to provide this. They're supposed to cook this, do this. And when the other person doesn't fill this role, you automatically judge them. Be like, you're not doing your job. You're not doing what you're supposed to. well, heck, accept me for the other human that I am. I'll
Yeah.
accept you for the human you are. We won't put a contract in the middle. And then if we have enjoyed our company and it's over, we'll separate. You will go our separate ways. But if
Yeah.
we are mutually trying to keep each other around because we enjoy our presence, like,
Right. Not because
then
we
we have
have
to keep
to.
trying.
Right.
I digress. There's no shame, blame, or
Yeah.
judgment there towards anybody.
So, do you feel like through spirituality, your expectations of others have changed?
Yes, completely.
Yeah.
They are a multidimensional being. There's a soul living in a body. They are navigating the spiritual realm, the physical realm, and the energetic realm and other energies. And they're trying to perform like a monkey. So they're chasing what is not real.
Mhm.
And so I give them grace and I view them autonomously. It's like, you are free to do whatever you want. And I am not here to judge you. Though I will set my boundaries and I will be firm in those. But other than that, it's like the biggest thing is having no expectations and no judgments. And then it's like, you're human, you do your thing.
Yeah, that's kind of been I mean, at least that's what I hope, to try to do all the time. I'm certainly aware when I've created an expectation now, whereas before I wasn't. And so much of my awakening happened probably through astrology and seeing how it kind of fits in the blueprint, but really asking myself those more introspective questions. And astrology led me to ask one day a little astrology app popped up and it said, check in with how you respond when people don't meet your expectations. That one was a huge one for me because I was like, I don't even need to check in. I know exactly how I respond when people don't meet my expectations, and it is not nice. And it came from a very wounded place and this huge betrayal wound that just always felt like I couldn't ever trust anyone to meet their own standard that they said they were going to rise to. And I know that's a really simplistic way of putting it, but in my mind, it was a very childlike view. Like, do you promise? Okay, that's a contract that we just created. If you promise, that means you're going to follow through with that. I don't care if you have to drive through a tornado. I don't care if uh, somebody dies in your family, whatever it takes for you to follow through with this promise, you will, you must, or else I'm devastated. I'm broken because how do I fit into a world where people just don't do what they say they're going to do? And that was a really steep learning curve for me. And it's so much easier now. Obviously, I still react sometimes, but it's so much easier now to be like, okay, first of all, how do I do this exact same thing to people all the time? And I do all the time. And what do I need in those moments? And what was I going through whenever it led to this, whatever? And then I can extend the same compassion to the other people that I do to myself. But man, for a while, my expectation was, well, actually, you didn't even have to know that we were in a contract. You never even had to say you're sorry. If I created an expectation in my world, we're in a contract. And I call that the social contract full of expectations because we're loving people in the way we want to be loved. And that's the other thing is I've started to get very observant about how other people show love because I had a friend who recently, her daughter had a pretty intensive surgery. And I was like, okay, what does she usually do for me in situations like this? Because that's how she wants me to show up for her, because I've always wondered why she did the things she did because it wasn't necessarily the type of support I needed, but it was like, okay, that's sweet. Okay, whatever. But it did give me a view into how she feels loved and shown up for. So I was like, okay, I will do that thing then. But that takes a while to learn that.
It does, because a lot of our responses and how we navigate the world are programmed in from broken people. So,
Yeah.
like you were mentioning, those unspoken expectations, and then we punish people because of those unspoken expectations. It's like, really? Like, I made that up in my mind. Now I'm going to treat this person less than? And I've been so guilty of that too. But I give myself full grace. And from what you're saying, it's like, that's a valuable thing I can apply to myself is seeing how people receive love because I could go
Yeah.
up and do my way. And I'm glad you brought that up. And like you said, for people listening, it's like what I do that I think is just the most bomb diggity thing for somebody. They might not receive it. They're like, why the crap did they do that?
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
like you said, which is so wise, like reading them, how did they receive love? I'm going to do that. Then it hits home in their heart because
Right.
not everybody's just open to the different types of love that are given. Because if a
Mhm.
person can do that and basically like open their heart chakra, it's like, I'm going to receive all types of love
Mhm.
instead of rejecting it like, that's not the way I want. I don't like it. It's like,
That's who I used to
wow,
be.
they're
Yeah.
expressing love and I accept it.
Yes.
But navigating people that aren't awake, I think is so valuable. And I'm glad you said that. It's like seeing what they receive as love and then honing our delivering of love to what they'll receive, in hopes
Yeah.
that they will open up more in their perception.
Yes, and you hit the nail on the head because the thing is this friend of mine is not awake. And you know when you like just tap into like all the love all the time and you just wanna, like, share that with people, but people who are still very much in their brokenness can't receive love easily, and I was that person, like, you called me straight out because people offered so much love, and it was never enough, and because I guess I would say it wasn't what I wanted, but I didn't know what I wanted or needed, like, even now, I'm still unpacking, like, I think I don't hold anyone to a crazy standard now, so I can just receive love in its intention. Like, even if it's not any way that maybe somebody else would think, "Oh, that's love." I see the intent. So, I can receive love from all kinds of things now. But it was really important to me to share my love for her to feel loved, and so I that's what I did was just thought, like, how has she shown love before? Because I know that that's what we all do, is to give in the way we wanna be given to. But it really was like an attempt because I just wanted her to feel that love. And I think for people who are awake, it's almost our responsibility, not to our own demise, not first, like we still have to fill ourselves up first, but to be cognizant of the love that we have this potential to pour out onto everyone and to see like how can I best meet them where they are right now? Again, not to our own demise. I think that, it's easy for us to jump around and maybe over caretake and things like that. So I certainly don't mean in a codependent way, but just in our normal everyday interactions, we can give so much love to others just from showing up.
Yeah. That's, I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't really have a response right now. I was just listening to you.
That's fine. Well, so I'm curious, what other ways did your worldview shift?
I'd always had a neutral view on politics. I see it as just a farce. It's just a show. So religion shifted from viewing these people as authority figures. It's like, oh, you're a human that's just been told a story.
Mhm.
And you've been on this planet in this lifetime longer than me. So I no longer see you as an authority. And it shifted seeing my kids as being much wiser. And it changed my lens of how I view them. It's
Yeah.
like, y'all are closer to y'all's soul.
Mhm.
We've
Mhm.
been here getting brutalized longer and covered up with our ego and y'all's joy. Like you see a kid when they're
Yeah.
little and they're just like bundles of joy, laugh, they
Yeah.
smile and they giggle. This world
Yeah.
destroys it. So a big thing that shifted, I guess, was just seeing how lost people were, but thinking they knew what they were doing. It's like that
Yeah.
was the biggest thing. Like you're so deceived. Like you think you got it going on and you're lost. Like it changed my perception on like a CEO. Like, wow, they're awesome, blah, blah, blah. They're just highly, highly, highly trained and they are locked in miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not all of them, but then it made me just look at, like, how people are locked into their egos. I could
Yeah.
go on and on, but perception it was like a veil was lifted. So it was like being force-fed by a fire hydrant. At first, I was just like, "This is a nightmare. I can't do this. This is effed."
Yeah.
And then I just had to slowly process piece by piece and just like, okay, this is the reality now that my perception has changed. And so the biggest thing for me was I knew what reality was and what my soul was and what awareness was. And then I identified my brain and my ego, and all that was programmed to believe something totally different. So once my perception of the whole world changed, I was looking outward, I immediately looked back inward because I have to change all of this going on to represent my soul properly because all this is
Yeah.
effed.
Yes. 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 Everything, right? From the inside out. Because I was pretty sure that I had all the answers before. I mean, I knew I was, like, I reached really my awakening came from a mental health crisis, but just from that, I'm desperate. Like I'm ready. I'll do anything now. Like this is the last ditch effort. I don't have anything else left. So it was a little easier to see some things, but I really, in spite of all of the mental health struggles I've ever had, I was pretty sure that I knew. I was certain of a lot of things that now I'm like, and now I think the biggest thing that I'm constantly having to like realize and I just get reaffirmed over and over is like how little I know. And actually even in my spiritual beliefs, sometimes I'll get really sure and really in my ego about it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then I'm like, honey, this isn't any better than being so sure about Jesus like you were when you were 12. You know what I mean? Like you got to knock it
Yeah.
off. You don't know everything. You don't know all that much at all. So stop it.
Is like comparing, like, is this a narrative that I was believed? And this is something I had to analyze, or if I've actually experienced this. And you brought up something awesome. It's like I will go down a little bit of a rabbit trail and start believing it. And then I step back and I'm like, wait, somebody created this. And then I'll let
Yep.
it go. I'm like, nope, I have not
Yep.
experienced this. So this is not reality. So yeah, it's like a big shift between questioning what I was told to believe and what I've experienced. Like those two things are massively different. And once I
Yeah, that's
learned
a
that,
good
I was
point.
like, and that's what you brought up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a that's a big eye opener because it's a scary thing to question what we were told to believe. Because like you said,
Very.
I myself was so adamant. I was like, I know this. I know what's right.
Yeah.
But I was told to believe that, and I realized I didn't know crap. And the more,
Yeah.
sorry, there's you said several things. I was just like, yes, yes, yes.
Well, and just like how just the false certainty. I laugh so hard at it every time I think about it because you're right. You say the word scary, and it is scary because when I was in that middle ground, because there was all this religion, and then there was a couple, and it just started with like skipping a church service, and then months turned into years. And the further I became separated, the less it was making sense. Like, I was like, because listen,
Yes.
I'm going to be honest with you. I believed it all literally. I would fight to the death that there was a fucking well that swallowed Jonah and he lived in the belly for 3 days.
That popped in my
I
brain.
would fight for the death. Okay. I would have been, what's the word, crucified for that belief because I was so certain. I was so certain that all of it was very true and very literal. And then as I had some separation, I was like, you know, that really doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
Yeah, it's
What the
in
hell?
it's indoctrination. That's why it's like Sunday
Yeah.
morning, Sunday night, VBS. Like
Yes.
memorize these verses. Wednesday night, what you're backslidden. We haven't seen you. Like the pray.
You're a lukewarm Christian, and that's the worst kind of Christian.
I'm gonna
He will
spew
spit
you
you
out of
out
my
when you're
mouth.
lukewarm.
So it's like even the services are designed to get you in a meditative state through the praying, which praying is preying on you, like the praying mantis, not praying. It's like,
There you go.
and
Yes.
so, and that goes into energetic harvesting also, which is a whole nother rabbit trail. So they go into a prayer meditative mode, and then they sing, and then they speak on something, and they do like patterns of three, saying something three times, three times, three times to get it locked in. Sing
Yes.
again to make you feel good, to get that high and connect you with the spiritual realm, but hijack it.
Yes, because
Yes.
music does. And I
Yes.
always thought that was Jesus until the
No.
first time I attended one of my
No.
children's little choir things, and I'm bawling because music moves me. I can't even, my little daughter is in, she's not that little, but she's in choir. I cry at every one of her little perform, not because they're that good, but I am that fucking connected spiritually to music that I will just cry every time. And I always thought it was Jesus. I was like, the spirit is moving.
It is spirit. Yeah, it's like, but it's hijacked, and people don't know that because that's what's so evil about it. They have to tap you into what's real for just a little bit and then pull you out and be like, but you're a guilty sinner. And then they pray again and they close off the service, which is actually an indoctrination. And
Really?
the longer you're out of it, like you said, the more you start looking back and like, wait a second. Whoa. And it wears off. The reason it's wearing off faster now is because we just entered into the age of Aquarius, which the energies in the universe shifted. So the words that create a facade in our mind are no longer vibrating at the same frequency or resonance of what reality is. So
Right,
all
we're
of
not as
it's just
disillusioned.
yeah, it's all crumbling away, and that may be some
Yeah.
woohoo stuff, but in my reality, I've found this to be very true.
Yeah.
So because like if the religion Christianity was real and you left it for a long time, you would feel the same way. It would be reinforced versus you going out and you finding the true nature and true healing. It's like, wait a second. Like, and people are like, Jesus healed me and I know Jesus. I was like, well, I know Nikola Tesla because I talk to him every day and I read all of his books. I have a personal relationship with Nikola Tesla. And people would
Right.
call me crazy. It's the same thing.
No, I was gonna ask you, for real, how did the people in your life take it when you started being more spiritual?
Rejected me 100%. I was rejected. I had one dude on the phone. He's like one of my closest friends. He's like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, yelling at me. And I was just
Yeah.
sitting there. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, dude. Um, I went to like pastors trying to get an explanation of what was happening to me, and they had no way to resonate with that, or they had no basis to respond to it. They would just be like, what does this mean to Jesus? You know, they would just
They'll
have
give
these
you scripture,
they
yeah.
had these programmed responses. So what I realized was like I had to go through that process myself, and these
Yes.
people had to fall away from me. It
Yep.
had to change in my life. I couldn't keep them around to change into what I needed to be or who I truly am.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was rejected completely. So I was like, at first it was painful, but that was
Yes.
just another part of my process to live with rejection and live with that
Mhm.
pain. And then learn to be autonomous without these energetic connections and not tying my identity to the outside world because like
Yep.
my identity was tied to Christianity. It was tied to being a soldier. It was tied to being a stay-at-home dad, and I lost all that. Then it
Mhm.
was tied to being a business person, lost that. And I was just at a point where I was on the phone one night with this dude from the military and I was crying. I was like, I wasn't really crying, but I was in a crisis. I was like, I don't know who I am. And for about 2 weeks, I had no identity. I didn't know who I was. And I was just walking around in this. I was just freaked out because I had nothing to grab onto of self. But it
Yeah.
was me losing myself or
Mhm.
my idea of self to find my core. And I had to go through all that. It's a process that has to be done alone.
Yeah.
But in that, it shows a human true strength. It's like, so this is for other people that if you're going through this in your audience, your path is for you alone and have faith in yourself because you've always been there when nobody else was and you're still here
Mhm.
and
Yep.
you're stronger than you know.
Yes. Yeah, you have all the tools inside of you. How has spirituality helped you with, dealing with past rejections and abandonments and loss and neglect and being in the military, all the things that we kind of accumulate along the way? How has it helped you?
It showed me how other people are running programs of hurt and pain and they pass that on.
Mhm.
And it showed me how that's the ego just running programs. And so I was able to separate what I viewed as pain and suffering from what my soul was. So it's basically my brain is recording this book of my life. And then my brain was unorganized. So it would look back to this old chapter and be like, read this painful thing. And I was trained to view it as hurt and painful. But
Mhm.
there's a soul, there's a mind, and there's a brain. And once I got the separation of soul and mind and brain, I was able to see this as the story of my journey here on this lifetime so far. And I was able to totally separate from that and realize this body has been beaten up and brought through the ringer. It has emotions, but my soul was never touched and it cannot be touched.
Mhm.
And so now I view it as and then, like, paying off karma or karmic debt from past lifetimes was part of this lifetime, the pain and suffering for the awakening process because, like, all the concept of identity has to be stripped away. But then I got to the point of, like, "Oh, this story, I can glean wisdom from it to guide me on the next part of my journey, the next half, versus
Yeah.
me staying clung in here and having the identity of being pained and hurt and thinking this is true wounding, this is just a story. That's all.
Mhm.
That's how I'm gonna keep it. And then, like, this hit home so hard. It's like, I was the villain in other people's stories too. I was like, dang it. Like that introspection sucked because it was like this dark monster in the corner that I was always ignoring, but I had to look and be like, fuck.
Yep.
I apologize for cursing. And I had to
"Oh, honey, I cuss so much, no worries."
so I had to embrace that. It's like, okay, I can't act like the darkness doesn't exist because the yin and
Yeah.
yang. And I had to accept myself. It's like, I love you. This is the way you were trained and programmed. You were acting out of hurt, but this is no longer necessary to act in this way. But yes, you are
Yeah.
my dark side, but you are fully allowed to live now. You don't have to hide in shame. You can
Yeah.
be here. So that way
Yeah.
it mends that split internally that religion creates of like, hate this part of you, love this part of you.
Yes.
No, we have to
Yes.
love every part of our vessel, every part of our
Mhm.
expression. And then once we learn what is negative for other humans, then we have to think, okay, how do I shift and change my interaction now? Because I'm creating part of their story, but I'm the main actor in my story. And I can completely control how I conduct myself. And that's overriding the old programming and letting this soul guide my energy output of being like, okay, how will I use my dark side now? It'll be the
Yeah.
boundary keeper. My dark side, my nice side and dark side are together. And then my nice side's like, hey, here's my boundaries. I'm going to be your friend. Don't step over my boundary. You stepped over the boundary. You're fucked. You know, it's like,
Yes.
there you go. We're both here. And that's not a
Yes.
split. That's just the duality of good and evil. It's like
Right.
they both exist here, but I've just figured out like they're going to support each other because,
Yes, because your darkness is part of your magic. That's what I had to learn is all the things I ever viewed as flaws, I had to learn how to hold them and then they can be useful. But as long as you're shunning them, they don't serve any great purpose other than to create more shame in you, but they are there for a reason. We have this duality for a reason. We all have it, and there's a very good reason for it. Someone said it this way, and I really liked it, where they said, "Just expand your capacity for light because the more dark you experience, the more you have to compare." Like, if everything that you ever experienced was light, you wouldn't know that it was light because you didn't have anything to compare it to. God knows I've seen enough darkness. But that goes for inside of us too. Like the things that we want to hide and just shun and shame, they really are good too. They're very good and they have good use if you let them.
yes. And may I just insert really quick? This has been an awesome conversation. Like, I didn't know the direction it would take, but this is the bread and butter of my life now. Like, I love these conversations. So let me just say thank you. This is freaking
Yeah,
awesome. But yeah, when we try to ignore aspects of ourselves, we can't wholly love ourselves and embrace this human experience. And we can't resonate at our highest level. If we're being like,
right.
this part doesn't exist, then we're presenting with a facade in the world of acting like this is me, but there's this hidden part. And that's red. Like people can feel that. It's like this is the fake, like the imposter syndrome almost. Like I'm trying to act like the whole
Yes,
me, but I'm hiding this part of me back here. And this I realize like if I can't love all of me, how can I love all of somebody else?
exactly. You can't extend to others what you can't give to yourself.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I'm wondering if you used to feel this too, but I couldn't receive compliments from people before. Like when I did what I would always think is if you knew the real me, if you really knew me, you wouldn't be saying that. And once I got to where I loved all parts of myself, I was like, yes, they would. Like, I mean, it's just a totally different shift. But man, I couldn't receive love. I couldn't receive praise. I mean, and I lived and died for praise and external validation, but it was never enough because I couldn't really feel it because I was like, but you're only saying that because you don't know that I'm actually imperfect.
Get out
You
of
think
my
I'm perfect.
mind. Like what you said, like I've lived that. I've been through it. And I can't imagine how many other people going through religion have felt that way. Even not even in
Mhm.
religion, but especially religion. It's such a like, this is what it does to the human internally, and you just, like, nailed it, like, we can't receive compliments almost, and, like, we never feel good enough, and we're never
Yeah.
validating ourselves, like, seeking that external validation, and then the manipulators in our life hold that validation to control
Yep.
us. It's like,
Yep.
"Wait a second, I can validate myself? I can, receive a compliment without feeling guilty?" And
Right.
when that shift happens, it feels so good, and I used to be so talented at when somebody would compliment me, and I would turn it around and be like and just give it right back, not complimenting them,
Yeah.
but like, "I don't deserve it," or like, "Thanks for saying that, but that just had to do this," to make it sound like
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal.
it's just like a finger to the person, that gave me the compliment, and now it's taken me the better part of a decade or more to receive compliments, and now I truly receive them, and it feels so good, and
Yeah.
it's like, I had to think about the person's shoes too, like, when I give somebody a compliment, it feels good to compliment them, but when they
Mhm.
block it and return it energetically with words, it makes me feel poopy. So then I had to realize, like, when I reject their compliments, it makes them feel bad, and then they'll
Yeah.
pull back into their little shell and not give as many compliments. So it was like, it's just important for me to receive it as it is for them to give it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, because I mean, it reminds me of all the damn times in religion I would hear like about blocking yourself from blessings. But this is where like, so I still don't, I'm actually still really triggered when people talk about God. Like I'm still working through that. I hope that one day it doesn't bother me because some people use the word interchangeably with universe and whatever, and that's fine. People are entitled to their beliefs, but I am still really triggered by it. But as I've like gotten deeper and deeper into spirituality and kind of hit that what I say is Christ consciousness, where I start to say, I kind of see what he was talking about. Like, if we were talking about Jesus as a spiritual person and the spiritual teachings that you could take away from anything that I've heard that Jesus said, okay, I kind of get like, there's been so many times throughout the last 2 years where I understood what if it was true that he cried out on this cross, "Forgive them for they know not what they do," I understood what that meant on a very intimate level because it's so easy for me to forgive people who are not awake. I mean, in general, but like, like they don't know. There's so much they don't know, and there's so much wounding just covering up, and that's their filter that they see everything in the world is through this pain. Yeah, I can forgive that really easily now because of how easily I can forgive myself. So, different little like biblical principles have come up throughout my journey and I'm like, yeah, I kind of understand where they were going with that. All the other shit I will never say anything nice about. But the stuff that Jesus himself was trying to teach, but yeah, I will still never say like I think he was born of a virgin, son of God situation. No. I think Jesus was a spiritual person who got into some ayahuasca. Okay. That's what I think. And I'm here for it, but I don't see him as any like better than me. But I like some of the stuff, but that's taken a while to even get to because the religious trauma, I think especially growing up in the areas, I don't know if you're from Alabama, but growing up in Oklahoma, it's very fire and brimstone. I think it's just a certain brand of Christianity here. I mean, I think it all is kind of the same, but here, ooh, it's so bad. It's so culty,
The Bible Belt
and
is where I live.
yes.
It is fire and brimstone too. Like, I would think it's probably pretty close to yours.
Yes, and how can you develop any relationship with self when you're taught this idea of original sin and like that you were born unworthy and unclean even, unclean. Like, it's just all the weird shit that we were taught that just dug in the claws a little bit deeper. And so now I really can open my heart to like, oh, Jesus probably was a pretty good dude, but so was Socrates. Like I don't, it's all kind of the same for me, but I feel like understanding what he was trying to do then, how he was trying to enlighten others, I can certainly see the application now. But even with that understanding, I stay pretty far away from any of that because I'm still, I guess, really hurt by it. Like, I guess that's the only truth that can be if I'm still so triggered by it? When people talk about it, I get really, I don't entertain the conversations at all because I'm like, we are not aligned. at all.
I believe that he probably existed, but I don't believe the narrative that was spun around it.
Right.
I don't think if he was here now that he would be all about having a coffee shop in every church, and having like a
Right. Right.
he would be like, "Destroy all this, we need to love
Or a
each other."
bookstore with merch.
He was like a hippie, and he's just like, "Hey,
Yes, exactly.
bro, let's love each other." He probably had kids, but if you look at it, it's like a government killed this dude, and then they took his story and a government pushed it back out,
Mhm.
rewritten. The victors rewrite history. So they're like, how can we use this badass dude that was a hippie that people probably loved and were drawn to him because he was connected with himself and source? And he's like, I will teach you how to go in. Because he said the kingdom with heaven is within. And so I think now it's just years later, like we're in a new modern day era, but we're still the same humans. And spirit, the universe is shifting and raising awareness to be like, okay, let's bring more. Let's totally mess up this system just by being awake. How can you deal with that?
Yeah.
And so just the fact of like how we can use technology to connect, because I've been connecting with other people that are awakening and that are awake. And having those conversations are amazing because it feels like I was dropped in behind enemy lines. Just like this. And then with the religious wounding and trauma, I had to just see it. Like I had to step away from a very long time, for a long time, have no interactions with them, and I just shut those conversations down immediately. I just don't have them. I just tell them, nope,
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't. Or I just say I stepped away from that religion. And they react very angrily. They don't react well. They don't react in love. And in my mind, it's like, y'all are so lost. You don't even see your reaction of here's another human just telling them they chose differently. And you totally react
Right.
negatively.
You don't even have to criticize.
You can't just
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, cool," because one of our biggest freedoms is the freedom of belief, and belief is one of the
Mhm.
most powerful tools that can be used for evil. And so if these people in religion weren't deceived, they'd be all about somebody being free, making their own choices.
Mhm.
They're like, "Awesome, you're another human. Why can't we connect on that? Why do we have to connect on our beliefs? Why do we have to connect on the way we dress? Why can't we connect
Right.
because we have souls?"
Right.
You know?
Yes, just more authentic connection. But that's like I talk a lot about, or I haven't talked about this as much lately, but something as women, and I really think this kind of applies to men too. It looks a little different, but specifically as women, we really are programmed to connect through talking shit and complaining. And it's also one way that the patriarchy has turned us against one another too. But learning how to connect authentically with people and not just gossip and shit bitch all the time, it makes it a very
Love it.
lonely world because people want to gossip and just talk about nothing all day. And I'm like, I can't. That is such a drain to my spirit, like a drain energetically and then physically, that it is just not even, I will not even entertain it. But I really notice when I'm around the boomer generation, they're still like that too.
Mm.
They cannot connect authentically. They're gonna talk to you about the weather, the vacation they just took. They're never gonna ask you a question about yourself, that's for sure. And it drives me fucking insane. Like it's like I have to keep a distance from so many people because it's still I want so badly to be quote unquote enlightened enough, spiritual enough, tapped in enough for it to not irritate my spirit, but I am not there yet. And I had to get to where I was okay with that because all this resistance that I felt all the time, like, ooh, that's agitating my spirit. And then be like, shit, talking to myself, like, Melissa, no, no, no. And it's got to where I'm like, and you know what? You know what? I'm human first here. So it agitates me. I'm just going to remove myself because it is what it is. And until whatever, shift in paradigm takes place that's going to allow me to be around these annoying ass people without wanting to rip out someone's hair, we're going to have to keep some separation.
This helped me reframe that. Those people,
Those people.
they're stuck in their last trauma as a child because most people were traumatized
Yeah.
as a child in some way, shape, or form. And they are stuck developmentally at that level, but they're acting like an adult.
Mhm.
So when they're clinging on to these things of, let me talk about politics or talk about my new truck or sports or shit bitch, which that's an awesome phrase.
Thanks.
They they don't know any better. They stopped developing. and they started copying. So they're like, I want to, like, what I start doing is I look at the wounded child in there. When I see an old man walking around trying to act like I'm a Christian and I drive a big truck and I'm just tough asshole, it's like I just look at him with compassion, like, you are such a wounded little boy. And I wonder, it's like,
I
where
can
were
do
you?
that from a distance. How do you be in proximity and still feel that?
I don't respond to it. I just look at him with compassion, or I look at him as the knowing adult and I give him the eyes like, mm. And what I do is I just walk up to because like when I walk by an older person, you know how they have those comments like, you look good, you just got it going on, or you got all this stuff, they have some dumbass comment. And
Yeah.
so the way deal with them now is when I see a comment loading in their brain, I look at them, I'll just be like, "The disrespect," and I keep walking. Like, I just throw some random shit out there, and then they're like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." Or I'll
Yeah.
just look at the old men, I'll look at them like, "I see your soul," and I keep walking, and they are just like, I that's how I deal with it. I deal with it head on with a phrase, or I just when I see them about to say something, I start with this. I say, sarcastic comment loading in 10, 9, 8, and I start counting down to 1, making eye contact because it's like, I'm tired of your generation. I'm tired of this shit you talk. I'm tired of this stupid shit you say. You're not gonna
Yes.
fucking like this interaction with me. That's just the way it is.
Yes.
Like, I see the wounded kid in you, but I'm about to fuck your ego up with like a couple of
Yeah.
words, like, because I know how your ego works.
Yes.
And I'm kinda getting out of that phase, but that's how I deal with him, like, aggressively. It's like, I'm not putting up with your shit, but I'm about to fucking ruin your day with some sounds.
Yeah, because it's like strangers is one thing because it's literally so easy for me to be like, "Are you good?" and leave it alone. But, like, the people in my life that occasionally I have to interact with from that generation, I just don't anymore because when I'm thinking of them outside of the hurt that they've caused me, I can actually see exactly what age they got stuck,
Yeah.
and I can have a lot of compassion for that. But the closer they get to my bubble, it's like the way we were taught about like the devil fleeing whenever like if you would say I rebuke you or you were to say Jesus around the devil, that there was like it was like you were you know what I'm talking about?
That's such
Were you
bullshit.
taught this? If you said Jesus around the devil, it was like you were, like, electrocuting him. He would get, like, a zap and he'd flee. That's how I fucking feel in the presence of a boomer. It's just, like, electrical shock. Like, "Get the fuck out of here, man."
So energetically, like, I call it the energy wars because they're disconnected from their heart and from their core.
Right.
And this is why it's so painful because all of the way they talk is designed to steal your power and feel less than. Because they always have
Yes.
these jabbing, cutting things to make you feel less than, put you back in that role of a
Yep.
child of like, make them feel better. And they're stealing energetically with words. And that's why it's so difficult. Like, that's why I protect my energy around them with a phrase. But like you're saying, like, it's painful because they're trying to steal from you. Like, they're not there to edify or to be present with another human. They're there to either make themselves feel better or
Hi. Sorry. I don't know whose issue it was, but we had an issue. It'll be alright.
sorry, I don't know what happened. I
That's
have
okay. It
really
happens
solid internet
occasionally.
on this. Oh, am I right back in on what was already going on?
Should be.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. But I have kept you a long time. So tell us where we can find you.
So I am on YouTube, Uncivilized Rebirth, and on TikTok, I think it's just The Enlightened Warrior. And then on the school platform, Uncivilized Rebirth. And it says it's just for veterans, but I let whoever in because like I have all these modules in there and it's all free right now. And I teach this program for squaring away the internal world. So that's basically where I am on social media and Facebook on Uncivilized Rebirth.
Okay,
But
cool. Well, I'll make sure that I include all of those links in the show notes. I've loved this conversation.
me too. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. Well, maybe you can come back sometime.
I would love that. This has
Okay,
been a freaking awesome conversation.
good. Okay, yeah, I'd love to have you back.
I would be really honored.
Okay, cool. Well, again, I will include all of that stuff in the show notes. And I don't have a closing. So I'm going to hit stop if you'll wait one sec.
Okay.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.